Hey, morning.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey.
You guys take Bitcoin, right?
Sure do.
I'm gonna be paying with Ethereum if that's okay.
Okay, yep, no problems.
It's a good thing I'm paying with Solana.
You can go ahead and tap.
Yeah, and there we go.
Oh, it failed. Try it again. Whoa, hold up there, sport. It looks like it's gonna be another 27 minutes before this transaction clears.
What?
Sorry, $112? I have like 3 things.
Ethereum, they got that peak hour gas thing.
Now you got it.
Maybe one more time. What are you gonna do? Just wait right here, without the bag, without the bag.
I think it's gonna work this time.
Nope. Should have shot with Algorand.
How do I get in that line?
The game is on, ladies and gentlemen. We are so excited to finally be able to present to you our roadmap. And the roadmap is, of course, a technical roadmap, right? We have a broader strategic plan, which is all about driving volume to the chain, getting users on the chain, getting increasing value on the chain, driving developers into our ecosystem, getting our startup funnel well oiled, and getting our company's funding, and just everything that we need to do more broadly to be a top 25 or top 5 chain. As I'm always saying, there's no reason why we can't be a top 5 chain. That is all our broader strategic plan. Now, the technical roadmap is, of course, a really important component of that. But what is super exciting to us about this technical roadmap is that our technology is already so good. And, we've learned that having the best technology in crypto, which we do have the best technology in crypto, is not enough to get you into being, the top 5 chain that we want to be. But it does provide us the luxury of having a technical roadmap that is not about the things that all of these other chains are still trying to figure out, that, Marc and Bruno will talk about more, getting their TPS up, right? Getting their latency down, that kind of thing. This roadmap is reflective very much about the gains that we've already made. Boston in particular, of course, Algorand Technologies has already made on the core protocol. So we can start thinking about how we are going to win in this space, building on the protocol that we already have in the product space, in the ecosystem space, on the bleeding edge. So that's what Marc Vanlerberghe, who is our Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer, and Bruno Martins, who is our Acting Chief Technology Officer, are going to talk to you about today when they present this roadmap. I, however, wanted to hijack this recording to just give you a couple of other updates that I keep hearing about, what people are DMing me about. So it's just a good opportunity to update you on 3 things. One is the liquidity into the DeFi ecosystem. Second is the CTO search. And third is the move to the US. So in terms of providing liquidity into the DeFi ecosystem, we, of course, have stopped with DeFi, targeted DeFi rewards. And, that program I think it was important, but it was not a resounding success, right? It was too temporary. The flows weren't sticky. We understand now that it's the Algo USDC pair that is really important. And so we're going to have some more announcements around that. But we are really thinking hard with our DeFi protocols about how to make that a better program. So that we know basically is the point there. And then on the CTO search, we've all survived under Bruno's leadership with John gone. He has gone off to a privacy protocol, which is really no surprise to any of us. And we're working with a very good executive search firm on the new CTO hire. And we have gotten, to me, a lot of interest from, I'm trying to figure out how much I can really say out loud about this, but a lot of interest from other protocols, let's just say, and other protocols that are much further up on the cap table than we are. And, these are names that maybe I just should stop there. But this is, of course, quite affirming for us, right? That we have so many people coming to express their interest in this role. And so we are, and we're looking outside within Web3 and also outside of Web3. And we have, I would just say we're making very good progress. We're talking to some very interesting people. And as an aside, we're learning a bit about other ecosystems too in Web3, which is interesting, and some of the troubles and problems that they're facing as well. And I don't want to jinx it, but I'm hoping that we have an announcement by Labor Day about a new candidate. So that's the aim there. But again, Bruno has really stepped up. Bruno Martins has really stepped up as our acting CTO. And the team that John built was just so good across the board. Everybody knows our engineering team is second to none. So we're fine. All we're missing is a little, beer can opening on podcasts. But otherwise, we're all fine. And then third, with this new administration and stablecoin legislation passed, so exciting, we need to be in the U.S. The U.S. is the biggest crypto market, and we are determined to be, we are a U.S.-led chain, U.S.-founded chain, and we need to, make sure that we are there in country and availing ourselves of any opportunities that come from that, frankly. In addition, we need to have a better board. Right. So our board is, as you guys have all pointed out to me on a number of occasions, and we know it, they're a very good board, though, from a governance perspective, but they're not representative, and they are not, they're not visible in a way to the ecosystem. And so we are progressing on this move to the U.S. and this effort to get a new and revitalized board. So those are the two tracks. It is, it takes a lot of time, and there are some things that we have to be very careful that we don't get wrong in this process. So the first one is we have to pick our jurisdiction in the U.S. And now, under the Trump, in the new kind of regime that the Trump administration has ushered in, at the state level, states are really beginning to vie for where you are incorporated. So our new CLO, Jenny Levin, is taking a very comprehensive look at the different state level jurisdictions to see where we incorporate. There are, of course, also tax implications to doing this, right? So if you transfer your treasury from one entity to another, you're still the same entity. So you don't want to have a big tax hit just from that kind of internal treasury transfer. So these things all need to be looked at very carefully. There's lawyers involved, there's accountants involved. It's all, et cetera. And then, of course, thinking about putting this board together is also a top priority for us. So those are just some business updates, and I will not take any more of your time, Marc and Bruno, and I will hand it over to you for the Game is On roadmap update.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Staci. Bruno, let's do this.
Let's
So
go.
the roadmap, the tech roadmap, just a couple of notes before we get started. One is this is a roadmap that stretches beyond a year. Right. This is not a calendar roadmap. It doesn't end in December 31st, 2025. It goes into next year as well. So that's one point I wanted to make up front. The second one is it's a roadmap that is really for developers and by developers. And what I mean by that is that all of the things that you'll see in this roadmap are basically designed to help developers explore and explore new use cases on Algorand and be successful building new businesses on Algorand. And it's also by developers because we want this roadmap to be embraced by our community and specifically by our developer community. And we would look forward to seeing contributions from the developers in helping us execute on this roadmap. And we'll put a formal process in place to actually request collaborations from our ecosystem and from our developers to help us build this roadmap together. And then the third thing I want to mention is that this roadmap, as Staci already mentioned as well, this roadmap will contain protocol, but also a lot of non-protocol related items. And so you'll see the combination of both. So let's get started. So here's how we're thinking about this roadmap. As you all know, Algorand is one of the most mature blockchains in the industry. And while other blockchains are still trying to figure out how to scale beyond 12 transactions per second or get finality down, below a day or so, right? We are way, way, way beyond that. And we can really focus our energy on figuring out how to achieve real world usage. And that is a core tenet of this roadmap. And our mission is, as you all know, our mission is to power a world where information has integrity and innovative solutions can scale. That's really our guiding principle as we go to this roadmap. We really believe that Algorand is the trusted infrastructure layer on top of which businesses can be successful building products at scale. And that's how we're thinking about this. So let's go into more details. When we think about how to develop a roadmap, we really focused all of our initiatives around 4 pillars. And these 4 pillars will actually guide Algorand's development for the next few years. So let's go through them. First pillar is Web3 core values. We are an OG chain, and we still believe in OG values. And, as you know, some of the more recent chains don't tend to talk much about these OG values anymore. They don't talk about decentralization or governance or much of that. We do. We still believe in those core values, and we're going to double down on basically achieving them. This means more efforts in terms of decentralization, more efforts in terms of on-chain governance, and specifically more efforts around economic sustainability of the protocol. So that's the first bucket. The second bucket is all about mainstream adoption. We really want to lean heavily on bringing in normies onto a blockchain from a developer perspective, from a user perspective, but also from a business perspective. And as we all know, there are still way, way too many friction points in this onboarding process. And so we want to go tackle each one of them. We want to basically eliminate and kill complexity wherever we can for users, for businesses, and for developers. That's bucket number 2. Bucket number 3 is about use cases. We had our awareness campaign around can a blockchain do that? That is very, very use case driven. So, and of course, Algorand is a general purpose blockchain, so anybody can come and build any kind of business they want on top of our blockchain. But there's a few use cases where we think there's tremendous opportunities and for which Algorand is particularly well suited. And so we want to double down on those in this roadmap, specifically around finance, around commerce, and around identity. And we'll talk more about that. And then the last bucket is the research bucket, is the bleeding edge. Algorand's technology is really unparalleled, and we want to make sure it stays that way for years to come. And so we're going to do ongoing investments in privacy, in quantum, and in scalability. So those are the 4 buckets: Web3 core values, mainstream adoption, core use cases, and then research. Let's go one by one.
As CZ would say.
Let's go one by one. So first, Web3 core values. So the first project we're announcing today is a project that we call Project King Safety. And king safety is a term that's very well known in chess. Of course, you have to keep your kings secure and safe. King, in our case, of course, is the protocol. We want to make sure the protocol is safe for the long term and that we have economic sustainability of the protocol. And we all know that there are some challenges here. Our fees are extremely low and they don't really cover the cost for stakers. So as a result of that, we supplemented those fees with a staking reward bonus paid out of Foundation Treasury. But as we all know, we can't keep paying those bonuses because we will hit the cap of 10 billion. And so we need to figure out a way to actually get the protocol on a economic sustainability level. And that is what Project King Safety is all about. So we're going to take a very measured approach to this. And we want to work together with our community and our ecosystem to deliver on this economic sustainability. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the possibilities. We're having deep conversations with Algorand Technologies on this. We're looking at the impact of any decision that we all together make on the protocol, because some things are easy to do, some things are more difficult to do, some things require a lot of protocol changes, some things don't. And so we're doing a full assessment of the possibilities that are available to us. We're going to create a position paper around this by the end of the year We'll open it up for discussion and conversation with our community. And then over the course of next year, we'll start the implementation of this project. This is the biggest and most important project from a protocol level because it's absolutely critical and crucial that we get this right. And we want to do this together with our community. That's project number 1. Project number 2 is governance, right? So on governance, the big thing, of course, is the launch of XGov. XGovs are launching this quarter. We just went through election of the XGov Council members. I think we have a great XGov Council. So very excited about working with the XGov Council on this. But the XGov project will launch this quarter. And it's crucial because it brings back grants to our ecosystem. It brings back the fuel that developers need and want to develop innovative solutions on our chain. So we're super, super excited about getting this program live. As you know, it is staker based. So the XGov Council anybody can submit a proposal. The XGov Council will basically guide and give their recommendations. And then all the stakers can basically vote on the grants and approve or disapprove any grant. So that program is going to live this quarter. I think it's going to have a big impact for our broader community and ecosystem. So we're super, super excited about seeing this go live. That's number 1. Number 2 is general governance. We want to evolve general governance, and we have a couple of guidelines around that. First of all, we want general governance to be more inclusive. As you know, we have an issue around RETI, where RETI pool participants can currently not participate in general governance. Obviously, that needs to be fixed, and we're going to fix this. So we want to make it more inclusive. That's number 1. Secondly, we want this to be maximally on-chain. Currently, with general governance, there's still quite a bit of behind-the-scenes work that people at the foundation have to do to make sure everything is working fine, that everything is operating properly, that everything is checked. So we want to move as much of that manual work out of it and on-chain as much as we possibly can. So we want this to be maximally on-chain. That's the second guiding factor. And then the third one is we want to basically move towards an open source infrastructure so that later on, when we think about like full decentralization, that somebody else, it may not be the foundation, can take on general governance and run it. Right, so that's the step towards that is making sure that general governance is open sourced and it's an open source infrastructure. So that's where we want to go with general governance. We want to take a measured approach. We want to work with our community. We want to get input from everybody, and so we're going to put the position paper out there by the end of the year, and then we'll work on the implementation of this next year. Again, very much in collaboration with our community. That's number 2, governance. Let's move to number 3. And number 3 is decentralization. And in this area, I think we've made an enormous progress compared to last year. Network decentralization was a core tenet of last year's roadmap, right? It was all about including creating staking rewards and incentivizing people to run nodes and stake with our network. And the impact that we've seen over the last 6 months has been tremendous. Not only has the number of algos staked increased significantly and increased over 50%, but more importantly, the percentage of stake that is owned by the foundation dropped enormously. It dropped from about 65% to about 20%. So we can honestly say that we are far more decentralized now than we have ever been. And so that's a big milestone for us. The number of validators more than doubled. If you look at node distribution, nodes are being distributed in over 70 different countries. So we are truly on a very strong network decentralization path. And I think that by the end of this year, we will probably be one of the top 2 or 3 most decentralized chains in the industry. And so we're very proud of that. But there's one thing that's remaining to be done, and that's peer-to-peer networking. So we still have a centralizing element in our network, the relay nodes, that are a mandatory component of our network. And so the whole idea behind peer-to-peer networking is actually remove relay nodes as a mandatory component of our chain and make them optional instead. And we would do this by creating a peer-to-peer gossip network that allows consensus nodes to talk directly to each other without going through a relay node. So how are we doing there? Well, actually the code to run a full peer-to-peer network is actually live on mainnet today. So any node on Algorand right now can flip a switch and go and switch to what's called a hybrid mode, where the node can talk directly to other nodes or can also talk to the relay node that they want to do. So that network capability is available today. It is not turned on by default because we want to take a very measured approach towards launching this and towards like moving the chain over to this completely new P2P model, so as to not cause any kind of like massive disruptions. Also from a node operator perspective, we want to be careful because when you run your node in the P2P mode, your node will consume more data. So if you're on a metered plan, it may end up costing you more to run a node in the P2P mode. So we don't want to force this functionality on the node operator. So we want to take a very measured approach towards moving all these nodes over to a peer-to-peer mode. And that will continue to happen over the next 4 to 5 months. And so by the end of this year, we'll be pretty much in a decentralized peer-to-peer mode. But the good news is that the software is live, it is running on mainnet, and any node operator can make that switch whenever they want to. And as part of this, we're also, and this is a minor thing, we're also changing the naming structure of how we name our nodes. And we do this for 2 reasons. One is to kind of align ourselves more with industry-wide nomenclature. And secondly, to also make it clear to people that the role of a relay node has changed fundamentally. That is becoming a more optional network element and not a mandatory network element. And so the consensus nodes and participation nodes will become validators, which is a industry-wide nomenclature. Our relay nodes are becoming repeaters. They act like Wi-Fi repeaters. They're an optional part of your home network. And if you have Wi-Fi repeaters, your network will be stronger and it'll go faster, but you don't need them. You can remove them and your network will still work. The same is true here. So they're repeaters. And then we have our archival node that becomes an archiver, and API node is an API provider. So we're cleaning up the naming to make it clear for everybody what each one of these things are. So that is Web3 core values. We talked about king safety, moving the protocol to a sustainable economic sustainability. We talked about governance, and then we talked about peer-to-peer networking. So let's move to the second bucket. And the second bucket is about mainstream adoption. And as I mentioned at the beginning, mainstream adoption is about removing complexity. It's about killing friction wherever we find it. And we kill it for users, for developers, and for businesses. So let's start with developers. Bruno.
Thanks, Marc. So part of mainstream adoption is to make the experience of Algorand better and make it easy for people to not just come to Algorand, but their first experience and their as they develop in Algorand to have a good sort of history and have a good feel in how develop Algorand is and meeting all their requirements in the best way possible. So AlgoKit has been a tremendous product in the ecosystem and framework, because as you know, so before Algorand's development experience was very fragmented. We had many different iterations and how it's like to use Algorand, different frameworks, and now it's consolidated around AlgoKit. And we brought the Python experience, more recently TypeScript, and we want to expand on that because we want to make more attractive and the experience better. So we're going to add on throughout this next year and beyond that. And with AlgoKit 4.0, a few things are going to be available. So we're going to introduce the concept of a library gallery style system where it's quite familiar for people maybe in other networks, and this will feel familiar if they come to Algorand, to have this bucket of known patterns and contracts that do certain things and extend their existing contracts to do other things. And so we're going to have the open Zeppelin type of experience, which other developers coming from other places will feel familiar with. And we're going to add that to AlgoKit. We also tried to make the experience other certain features a little bit better, for example, around storage. So we're going to introduce a key value like system to make storage and abstract a lot of the complexity in things like boxes. And we're going to make AlgoKit give to developers a very easy, manageable interface to interact with our storage capability. And the other element, it's, as you all know, AI is sort of taking over in the developer aid. And so we want to make the AlgoKit experience more AI friendly. So we're gonna make all the content, all the examples, even bits of the code a little bit easier to be fed into some of these models so that AI can sort of give better answers. And we want to enable this in AlgoKit. The other thing we also want to do, and this is a big one, is to make AlgoKit beyond Python and TypeScript, which we already have support, to start expanding that capability to other environments and languages. Because as we know in Algorand, we don't just develop on TypeScript and Python. There's other environments that we work on. For example, the mobile space, we have still a little bit of fragmented experience. So we're going to use AlgoKit, all the great stuff we develop in AlgoKit. You're going to make it that it's possible to export all the good components of AlgoKit and exporting things like Kotlin for Android or support Swift and React Native. So we're going to have this capability in AlgoKit to cater for more developers and have a better experience. Okay.
And that's first half of next year, right, Bruno?
Yes, mostly next year. So thanks, Marc. So the other user in our ecosystem is the app builders, the businesses, the startups. So that user also needs, we're also going to focus on that user and give them a better experience. And what we're going to do here with what we call Intermezzo is for those applications, those businesses that need to do custody, or they need an easier way to integrate Algorand. Sometimes enterprises do struggle a little bit to integrate this type of technology. It's quite new. They might argue it's not beta tested. We cannot just give them SDKs and expect them to understand all the nuances. So, and when this case is when they need to do custody, we have Intermezzo. And what is Intermezzo? Intermezzo, we take existing infrastructure and particularly key management systems that enterprises and app developers, startups might use, and we wrap it around a set of APIs in which makes integration quite easy. So this is what we do, for example, with our first partner in this is World Chess. And so they're actually using this to issue assets and develop its loyalty program. And this is one of the use cases that Intermezzo allows you to use. Intermezzo out of the box will make it enterprises be able to not worry about developing a particular backup and recovery system or a custom solution for multi-tenants. They might have employees, multiple users. Out of the box, we're going to have this support by using a known traditional key management system like HashiCorp Vault that gives this for free. And natively, it supports all the cryptography, all the little technical bits that we might need in Algorand. So with this, we wrap it around in a good set of APIs, and integrating Algorand for that type of user is going to be much, much easier.
And maybe to add two things to this. One is, why do we call this Intermezzo? We call it Intermezzo because it's a product that sits between Web 2 and Web 3. It's kind of a Web 2.5 product that allows companies to easily custody assets on behalf of their users. So it allows these companies to create a Web 2.5 if you want experience. And so we're very excited about the partnership with World Chess in this, because World Chess is launching this week a new loyalty program that will be completely on-chain. So all of the 1 million plus World Chess players will get Algorand accounts, will be able to earn loyalty points by playing games, by winning games, by maintaining a streak. And all of this will be recorded on-chain. And from a chess player's perspective, it'll work like a regular loyalty program, but the entire backend is completely managed and operated on Algorand using Intermezzo.
We got to use the Italian names, of course. We're an Italian name first layer one blockchain.
Yes. Talking about that, user experience.
Another Italian name. So we're naming this solution called Rocca. And what is Rocca? So Rocca targets the other type of user in our mainstream adoption roadmap, which is the actual end user. It's the one who uses the application and the wallets. And here we're trying to make the experience on ramping a user into an ecosystem, a Web3 ecosystem, as frictionless as possible. And as you know, in Web3, on the ramping is quite difficult. Sometimes involves having some manual steps, payments, credit cards, or transferring assets, swapping assets. It can get quite a cumbersome experience, and it's understandably so. There are some technical elements that it's not easy to get around it, but Algorand in particular has some properties that allow us to make this a little bit easier. And so we're going to develop Rocka. It's going to be a white label solution for anybody to build from. And what is Rocka? Rocka is a new wallet. And this is good for two reasons. One of them, we need more wallets. It's going to be open source. It's going to be easily to fork because we're going to build this in React Native. You don't need two teams to maintain it. And the other reason is because it's going to make the on-ramping aspect of it seamless, where the user does not have to be educated on what the blockchain is or what particularly Algorand is. We want to mention it some time. Maybe we say powered by Algorand, but the user doesn't have to understand the technology bits in order to use an application built on Rocka. Rocka is an application in which interacts with another application, could be a web platform or DeFi platform or World Chess, for example. It connects to it, and every time we need to do interactions with the chain, here's the big introduction for the ecosystem, is we're gonna promote that Rocka is going to delegate the fees to someone else, either to the application, the business, or the wallet provider. And the idea here is that the user itself does not have to pay the fees. We're going to put the fees in a category where there are business expenses. Therefore, the app or the wallet provider needs to pay for them, and they should upsell the user in other ways to cover those fees. We're going to do this in groups, and we're going to construct the groups on the wallet, give to the apps or the wallet provider, and they're going to pool those fees for the user, and the user is going to have a seamless experience. They're going to feel like using a regular app. It's very simple, and the user is not going to pay the fees. The applications or the business will. We're also going to introduce trying to introduce in the ecosystem a better experience. For example, authentication. We want to promote passkeys as much as possible. We have custody of our own keys for our assets. We should have custody of our own keys for our authentication and passkeys as well. And there's a few partnerships with Direct we might introduce eventually when it's ready. And it has an identity framework associated with it, which is we're going to talk about a little bit later.
And maybe 2 points to add here as well. Rocka, why Rocka? Rocka is Italian for fortress. And of course, the main goal of a wallet is to keep your assets secure. Hence the name Rocka. And the second thing here is think back about our Web 2.5 solution with Intermezzo. And now think about this as Web 3. Our launch partner here will be World Chess as well. So now, as a chess player, right, you basically have your loyalty points. They're managed by World Chess in this custodial environment. When World Chess launches Rocka to their users in their own kind of World Chess branded wallet, those chess players will be able to take control over their loyalty points. They'll have their own assets on chain. They'll completely own their loyalty points. They'll be able to trade those loyalty points, maybe connect them to DeFi. And so they'll be able to move from a Web 2.5 environment that Intermezzo provided into a full self-custody environment, which is what Rocka will provide.
All right,
So-
what I love about this is it's such a clear total world domination strategy. And if you want total world domination, you have to go to the people, not expect the people to come to you. So how can we make it as easy as possible for developers? Which of course we started by not making any compromises on Python, not Python Lite, not Python for Web3, but Python only, right? How are you going to get users by abstracting? And we started, Asset Inbox was an early precursor to this, right? Like, how can you make it as easy as possible for users? And then how can you do the things that you need to do for enterprises to make it easy as possible for enterprises to have ideas to build on this blockchain. So yeah.
Yes. So that's bucket number 2, mainstream adoption. Mainstream adoption for developers, for businesses, and for users. So now let's go to the third bucket. Can the blockchain do that? What are the use cases that we're doubling down on? And as I mentioned, we are a general purpose blockchain, so anybody can build any use case on Algorand, obviously without any limits or constraints. But there's a few use cases that we think we should double down on because they are incredibly promising, and Algorand is particularly well suited to address those. So let's go through those. First one is in finance. And it's all about tokenization, and it's all about tokenizing financial products. So what do we want to do there? Well, we have, as we all know, we have ASAs, standard ASAs. Most stablecoins are issued as standard ASAs. Unlike many other chains, they don't need smart contracts. They work by themselves, no smart contract needed. But then we also launched smart ASAs, and smart ASAs are ASAs with a smart contract associated with them. So we will use that construct to model tokenized financial products on-chain, and specifically contract-based assets such as debts and equities and derivatives that have fixed characteristics that can be modeled on-chain. And so we think there's a really big opportunity there. Algorand has always been, a real-world asset tokenization leader. We had like the first equities tokenized on Algorand. We have money market funds tokenized treasuries, etc. So you have a lot of tokenization experience. And we want to take this to the next level to allow companies to tokenize financial products on-chain and have those tokenized versions be extremely well defined in terms of its capabilities. So if you tokenize a debt product, the tokenized product needs to have an interest rate and a maturity, and it has certain cash flows that are planned. And all of these characteristics of that tokenized product should be incorporated into how that product works on-chain. So that's what we're going to focus on. And we're going to start with debt ASAs. And so there's basically 3 things that we do. One is we will define what that tokenized version of a debt ASA looks like. And we're not going to come up with the standards ourselves. There are standards that are emerging in the industry, specifically around actors, that define how these products should live on chain. And so we're going to adopt those standards and then implement them in a smart contract. We're going to provide a reference implementation and build an MVP so that our BD team can take it to institutions and help them incorporate this technology into their product offering. So we're going to start with debt ASAs. We have an MVP ready by end of this year, and then we'll move to equities in the first half of next year. One more thing to mention on this is that besides tokenization, stablecoins are obviously going to be a critical component of this, because stablecoins is what makes all of this work. And so, and this is more of a BD effort, but we have a very kind of forward-leaning strategy around stablecoin infrastructure. There's a whole new ecosystem emerging around stablecoins. It's not just the issuers of stablecoins. It's the on-ramps, it's the off-ramps, it's the infrastructure providers, it's the stablecoin enablers. There's a whole category and a whole category of companies that are emerging in this ecosystem of stablecoins. And so from a BD perspective, the team is very, very heavily focused on bringing those partners on chain and specifically doing the integration of Algorand. And of course, the engineering team will work on many of these integrations to make it as easy as possible for these stablecoin companies to be available on Algorand. And that, combined with the tokenization of financial products, I think will be a tremendous, tremendous added value, not just for the chain in general, but also and more specifically for our DeFi ecosystem. Because increasingly, many of these tokenized financial products, there are TradFi products, can be used potentially as collateral in the DeFi environment. And so we think there's a lot of interconnections here between TradFi and DeFi that we're going to pursue with this. So that's number 1, tokenized financial products. Number 2, on commerce. So we're going to double down on agentic commerce. And this is, of course, an emerging field. With LLMs pretty much taking over the world, the next step, everybody agrees, is that these LLMs will turn into full-blown agents. Not just, foundational models that can talk to each other, but foundational models that can actually take action and get stuff done for you. That's what the idea is behind the agent infrastructure. And so we are expecting to see millions, potentially even billions of agents that are acting on our behalf and taking actions. And these agents obviously will have to talk to each other and exchange value with each other. Now the question becomes, if these agents exchange value, how are they paying each other? Like, do we think that these agents will have bank accounts? If an agent is built in Rome and is talking to an agent in New York, are these going to do like an international bank transfer of like 50 cents? Probably not, right? Are they going to use credit cards? Probably not, because these transactions will need to be super, super fast. They need to be real time. They need to be cheap, and they need to have instant settlement. And so we think blockchain infrastructure is the best way to enable this agentic commerce world. And Algorand specifically, given its low fees and given its instant finality infrastructure and scalability, is particularly well suited to become the payment layer in this new agentic commerce world. And so we're very excited about this opportunity. And so the way we're thinking about this is there's a number of emerging protocols. There's the MCP protocol, which is the protocol that allows an agent to take an external action. The MCP protocol will basically help an agent understand how it takes an action with a certain external service, in this case, Algorand. There's the A2A protocol, which is Google's protocol for having two agents interact with each other. And then there's the X402 protocol, which is Coinbase-based, that allows an agent that creates like an internet-based kind of payment infrastructure. So these are the kind of leading emerging protocols. And so we want to make sure that all of these protocols are properly integrated with Algorand. And secondly, what we want to do is basically create this, what we call agentic security and identity framework on chain. What is that? Basically, when two agents interact with each other, how do you know when an agent takes an action on chain? How do you know if that agent can be trusted? You don't. And so what we're going to do is create an identity framework to allow trust to emerge, to allow trust to be associated with agents. So every agent will have an ID, and that ID is associated with a trust model. ID will automatically be linked to a person, right, who has accountability over the agent. So we will build that trust model on chain. The second is the security part. When agents start interacting on chain and you give that agent private keys, what if that agent goes off the rails? What if it gets like malicious prompts and start doing things it was not designed to do? How do we provide constrained autonomy to the agent so the agent can do stuff on chain, but within certain constraints? That's kind of the security aspect of this. And so we're thinking deeply about building this agent security and identity framework to allow agents to operate with trust and in a safe environment. So that's the overall strategy. The implementation of this is as follows. So we're going to release a number of tools and frameworks to enable developers to build these agentic payment flows. But we're not going to do it ourselves necessarily. There's already quite a bit of activity in our ecosystem around this space. And GoPlausible, for example, is a key partner for us on this, because GoPlausible already built an agent MCP, is already working on A2A integration. And so we, of course, don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to really rely on contributions from our ecosystem, in this particular case, GoPlausible, to basically enable this entire world and make it as easy as possible for developers to use. And we're going to work very closely with GoPlausible and potentially others to kind of productize what has been done and make it easily accessible for developers.
NG shout out.
Yes. Agentic commerce, that's number 2. Then number 3 is self-sovereign identity.
Good. So on self-sovereign identity, self-sovereign identity is part of an emerging set of technologies that it is really part of the global Web3, in which we now have the user in control of its data, its authentication, and more importantly, their identity. So we're going to bring this into Algorand and trying to get both on the tools that we offer for people developing applications, but also offering white label solutions like Roca for people to build for the end user, in which it brings the user to have custody of their own ID, data, and authentication. And so we're gonna have a white label solution, in which, in this case, is also the base for what's going to be the universal chess platform. But if it works for chess, it works for other things. It works for everything else. And it's not just about your ID. So you can use a wallet based on Rocka as the authenticator for your applications. So instead of using username and password like World Chess, they can enable a passkey, and you can use wallets based on Rocka to authenticate. And you have custody of those keys, not Google or Apple. Anytime you create a profile on Rocka, you can create multiple profiles, and you're going to write on chain the information about you. It's not the application World Chess creating an ID and generating history and data related to you that they store. You're going to manage your identity. You can create as many as you want, and you can delete and update and so on. We're also going to inherit, because we're going to develop Rocka and start the toolings around that on identity based on known reference implementations from groups like the Open Wallet Foundation, which has a lot of organizations thinking about this and spearheading the developing of the new internet at Web3, where the user has custody of these things. So we're going to inherit things like credentialing management, where the user can hold on their wallet under their control claims that other entities make about them. And then they can take that over and present to other entities to be verified. So the killer use case here is for things like KYC reusability, which we all hate. We do KYC in one platform, and then we have to do KYC in another platform, and we're always updating all these documents. And it will be much easier if somebody can just create a claim, and I can go and present to a verifier, and they trust that, and removes a lot of friction from the whole digital space. But there's a lot of
billions and billions of dollars of friction, billions of dollars of friction.
Yes, and it's something that we want to play in this space. We can bring a lot and compete in this space as well. It's not a set of rules that we are developing ourselves. In this case, we are adopting good rules and way of dealing with this type of information and storing them. And we're adding Algorand as the anchor for all of these things, where the user controls the keys, where certain bits of metadata and some assets I control is not the platform. So that's one of the big advantages that we're going to bring into this space, is the Algorand engine and the nice properties that we inherit and compete in this space. And these use cases are just the first ones. There's a lot more in this space that we can bring, and especially bring Algorand to the forefront. There are things, for example, documentation signing, like the DocuSigns of the world. If you have credentials, not only you can prove that you own a certain email, but you can prove you own a certain Algorand address. You can prove that you were KYC'd, and those signatures have more weight. This also brings a little bit of flexibility for payment solutions. With self-sovereign identity, I control my addresses, and I might want to link them to a real person or to an online profile. You need to be able to do forward and reverse lookups, and Algorand particularly is well suited to cover this scenario. So we want to compete in this space. We want a new offering. We want to give excitement and give tools to the community to build identity-enabled solutions. So Rock is one. We're going to also give tools for the backend and people who develop applications. We're going to also offer tools around this space.
And so if I link it back to kind of the World Chess use case, right? So we talked about Intermezzo, like World Chess is launching a completely loyalty-based program that's on chain, where they take custody of all the assets. Then with Rocka, the World Chess implementation of this, a chess player will be able to take control over their loyalty points and trade them and do whatever they want with it. But what this is now adding to it is that Rocka, because it has this identity framework at the core, it now allows that chess player not only to trade their loyalty points, but it allows that chess player to take their reputation and go to an over-the-board tournament, right, and present a QR code that gets scanned by the organizer. And now that chess player will be recognized with the right kind of reputation that they have and the right kind of credentials, so they can immediately start playing in that tournament. And that's the identity framework that's also built into that into that product that enables you to do those types of things as well. And that's what we talked about with the Universal Chess Passport when we launched a white paper a couple of months ago. Okay, so let's move to the last block, the bleeding edge. What are we going to do from a research perspective?
Yes, I like this one. So these three are probably some of the things I'm more excited about, and particularly number one. And this because nothing in the blockchain space of significance really has legs to stand the test of time if we don't have some privacy elements. I don't mean that everything is private, but some privacy elements, because if you're building a real payment solution or you have regulatory compliance requirements that you can't disclose certain things, or even end user privacy. I don't want to give you an NFT if then you can see where I'm spending my money. Like, I don't want to tip you for give you a tip and then you can see all my history or my company's history in time. That makes people a target, and so we need some elements of privacy. So we have some tools in this space now. As you know, probably have Algoplank is a great tool by one of our team members, Julio. And now we have things like Harmy's Vault is a good first application to exemplify what we can do in Algorand. But we're going to take this further. We're going to go and we're going to design, we're going to do research, we're going to probably write some papers and POCs, and we're going to investigate different techniques, different concepts as well. And we're going to put this to the community to review and talk about. And at some point, we need to start talking about privacy as a first-class citizen and enable multiple use cases in Algorand if you want to build real solutions that require it. So it's quite important. And we're going to look at things like confidential transactions, that relies on homomorphic encryption, Explained, Algoplank, and a lot more. So we're going to come out with a few materials and papers, and we get some feedback from the community about this. The other one is our post-quantum security. So as you know, state proofs rely on Falcon signatures. So we can say history of Algorand, it is secure. Now our accounts are still based on elliptic curves. We want to advance how secure we are against quantum computers. And so in the short term, there will be a new opcode released on the next consensus release that allow us to verify these type of signatures. And so what we're going to design and conceptualize and put forward is a new technique to develop post-quantum accounts. And this will take advantage of this new opcode, and we're going to create the ability to create these accounts using L6. And once you sign with Falcon, we're going to be able to, in some case, develop a post-quantum resistant Algorand account. So we're going to also give tools for developers, especially wallet developers, to have this ability. We're going to create bindings in multiple languages that teach you how to create keys and do signatures of this type, which are called Falcon. And we're going to give this to developers and give examples right about, so that we can start having the conversation of enabling this in wallets and applications to have post-quantum secure accounts. The other one is scaling. So we want to take all the cool features that Algorand brings, all the new things coming up, like resource list, and we want to expand upon it. We want to be able to develop applications and use cases that might need a lot of interactions. For example, we talk about AIs. Some interaction between AIs might need hundreds of thousands transactions a second conceptualized. We want to start doing research, what we do in those scenarios. And that might involve things like combinations of on-chain and off-chain solutions, things like state channels, which are known techniques, and things like Lightning and other ecosystems that combining the power of layer one, and we have a lot of advantage there because of finality. We can take more juice out of a layer 1 and combine with other techniques and enable things like payment transactions as fast as two entities can interact with each other. So this is another area of research that we're going to output some materials and start the conversation about it.
Great. Well, that's it. That is our roadmap. And maybe just in summarizing, I think we are in a unique position as a blockchain. We are one of the most mature blockchains out there. We have solved problems long time ago that other blockchains are still struggling with today. And so with this roadmap, we are going fully on the offensive. We are going the offensive. We want basically blockchains to be used by everyone. We want real world scale. And we are specifically going after that and removing all the friction points that we can find that basically has prevented people, prevented developers, prevented businesses from adapting blockchains. We're doubling down on the use cases that we think are the most promising. And we want to do it together with our community. We want to do it together with our ecosystem, together with our developers. And again, as I said in the beginning, we want to solicit contributions from our developers, and we'll put the process in place to actually manage this so we can actually go after the grand prize of this together. This is a very action-oriented roadmap, right? Deliverables on this roadmap are starting this quarter with, XCOF launch, the P2P network, and the launch of Intermezzo. It continues next quarter with big progress on the King Safety position paper and the general governance position paper. We'll launch Universal Chess Passport by the end of the year. We'll have that ASA MVPs done. We have the X402 integration done by the end of the year. And then we go into next year. This is not a 5-year roadmap. It's an 18-month roadmap at the max. And it's very, very, very action-oriented. So we couldn't be more excited about this roadmap.
I just want to, oh, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to end by thanking you guys. And, Marc and Bruno, you and your teams have put so much work into this. I also want to thank ecosystem folks like Benedetto and Patrick and John, who gave us comments on earlier versions of this. We really wanted to, nail this down and get it right. A lot of work going into, framing this properly. You guys did a fantastic job getting this approved by the board. They were so excited about it. And the game is on, right? But the game is on. And games are not played alone, right, Marc? I mean, the game is going to be played by everybody in this ecosystem together.
Exactly. And so I can't wait to actually go on an interactive session with everyone. So we'll do an X Space next Monday. And then we'll have an opportunity to talk about anything that the community wants to talk about. So I can't wait to actually do this. But hold on. There's one more thing. Obviously, there always has to be one more thing. There is one more thing. And that we haven't talked about yet. And it has nothing to do with the tech roadmap, but we wanted to give everybody kind of a sneak peek at what we have planned for September. And so in September, we're going to launch a new retail-oriented marketing campaign. And we call this campaign Algorand. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically put all of our key protocols front and center, all of our key apps front and center in this campaign. We're going to celebrate everything that our ecosystem has done in the past and use this as a way to attract new users to the Algorand blockchain. And we're going to do it with prizes, with competitions. We'll have 13 weeks of challenges with over 40 or 50 different quests that people can accomplish and win prizes at the end and during this campaign. So we're super excited about actually launching this campaign. It is coming in a month from now. It's coming beginning of September. So we can't wait to actually launch this campaign with everyone.
I just want to say, I've been asking for the graphics on this for weeks, and Marc wouldn't show them to me. So you see them before I did.
So, well, thanks everyone for joining and for listening. And we can't wait to continue the conversation with you all.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody.
Cool. See ya.